If you've ever scrolled online, you've almost certainly seen one of those unbelievable headlines that start with Florida man. One guy walks into a bar with an alligator, another one tries to feed a gator a slice of pizza, and every single time the same question pops into your head: what on earth is going on in this state? Today, we're talking about a state that's famous for its bizarre headlines, packed with pure craziness. But honestly, just as fascinating, that state is Florida. So if you were born and raised in Florida, what kind of stuff do you think you'd run into? Come on, let's take a look together. Let's start with that Florida man legend you see all over the internet. When you read those Florida man stories, you might picture one single guy out there doing insane things, like Florida man is one specific person. But the truth is way more interesting. Florida has a pretty fascinating law called the Sunshine Law. Under this law, journalists can get instant access to all kinds of official records, including arrest reports. It's known as one of the most transparent open records laws in the entire country. And that's exactly why the whole Florida man legend exists. Crazy stuff happens in other states too, but it doesn't hit the news right away. In Florida, reporters get immediate access to pretty much everything that happens. So Florida's wild stories show up in the news way more often, and it creates this illusion that all the craziness in the country is happening in Florida. So does that mean Florida doesn't actually have the kind of wild stuff you won't easily find in other states? Oh, it definitely does. Take alligators, for example. In Florida, spotting an alligator somewhere is about as ordinary as seeing a stray cat anywhere else. It's estimated that more than 1 million alligators live within Florida's borders. So for a Floridian, running into a gator in their backyard pool, on a golf course, or even in the parking lot of a grocery store downtown isn't surprising at all. Alligators are such a common thing in Florida that there's actually a special gator hotline you can call if you come face to face with one. One of Florida's most famous features is its incredibly sunny weather. In fact, that's exactly why Florida is nicknamed the Sunshine State. On a normal year, more than 230 of the 365 days in Florida are sunny. But here's the funny part. This super sunny state also happens to be the state that gets struck by lightning more than any other in the country. The Tampa area in particular is basically the lightning capital. So if you live in Florida, waking up to clear blue skies in the morning and then getting hit with a sudden thunderstorm in the afternoon is totally normal. On top of that, for a Floridian, living far from the water is almost impossible. That's because Florida has more than 800 miles of coastline, with the Atlantic Ocean to the east and the Gulf of Mexico to the west. So basically, no matter where you live in Florida, there's always a beach nearby. That's why, for Floridians, the ocean isn't just some place you go on vacation. It's one of the most essential parts of everyday life. In fact, you'll even see people swimming in the ocean in the middle of winter. A state with this many eye-catching features naturally draws a huge amount of people moving in from elsewhere. These days, most of the people living in Florida actually came from somewhere else. The state's warm, sunny weather is especially appealing to retirees. That's why countless retirees from all over the country pack up and move to Florida the first chance they get. All this migration has turned Florida into a true cultural melting pot. You can literally find people from New York, Latin America, or a completely different part of the world all living side by side in the same neighborhood. This also creates a huge amount of language diversity. In Miami especially, Spanish is spoken almost as widely as English. The heavy flow of immigrants from Latin America and the Caribbean is one of the biggest reasons for this. That's exactly why, in Miami, English and Spanish are basically intertwined. In fact, there are plenty of people who've lived in Miami for years and get by just fine speaking only Spanish. And Florida's interesting side doesn't stop there. Florida is also the flattest state in the entire US. Even Florida's highest point sits lower than the average hill in a lot of other states. If you live in Florida, that pancake flat terrain makes it a perfect place for biking or going on long walks. But if you're the kind of person who loves mountains and hills, Florida might not have what you're looking for. This amazing state is also home to the southernmost tip of the continental US. A small, colorful island city called Key West sits at the very southern point of the continental United States. In fact, this island city is just 90 miles from Cuba. Key West also happens to be one of the cities with the most bars and nightlife spots per capita in the whole country. So it's a small place, but a lively and energetic one. Even the famous writer Ernest Hemingway spent a chapter of his life here. Florida is also home to a whole lot of manatees. These big, gentle, incredibly lovable sea creatures are so slow and docile that they're officially protected in Florida. On top of that, in the Crystal River area, you can have a supervised swimming experience with these manatees. And Crystal River is the only place in North America where you can actually do that. So all in all, Florida, with its alligators, its fun atmosphere, its never-ending sunshine, and the countless people from every culture who call it home, is a state where you won't get bored easily, and where you can really enjoy enjoy life. As much as it makes headlines for crazy stories, Florida truly has some features that'll leave you in awe. So, have you ever been to Florida? Or do you actually live there yourself? Don't be shy about sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your comments might teach a lot of the people watching this something new. And if there are any states you'd like us to cover in future videos, feel free to drop them in the comments too. See you in the next one.